Hey, hey! So my fish tank has been quite neglected recently. As you can see, it's getting really rank. It's got loads of algae all over it. The fish and shrimp don't mind, but it just doesn't look very nice. So it's been long overdue to get a bit of a refurb, which I was thinking of doing today. This is a nano tank and it was planted, but a lot of the issues came where some of the Marimo moss balls, which is actually an algae, it kind of spread along the bottom of the tank and must have been taking up a lot of the nutrients because some of the grass that I'd planned on growing at the bottom just wasn't taken off anymore. It was pretty prominent, but then the algae just took over completely. But it's definitely long overdue, a good clean and a change of the substrate. And whilst I'm not going to change the overall aesthetic of the tank, I think we can improve on it a bit and just tidy things up. I've took all the fish and the shrimp out of here. We'll go have a look at those in a bit once the tank's ready. So the next thing I'm going to do is just get the rest of the water out, try and remove the substrate and then give it a really good clean with a razor scraper and try and get some of the water residue and the algae that's a bit more stubborn off the sides of the glass. Then we can get the substrate in and look at scaping it a bit. Cool, right, we've got our tank nice and clean now. Scraped off all the algae, which was a bit of a mission, but it's about as clean as I can get it. So next thing I want to do is get a base layer down, which kind of highlights the central point of the tank, which is going to be an underwater bonsai, which I'll show you in a minute. It's what I had in it previously, but I'm just going to kind of revamp things a little bit. So I want to build a little platform for the bonsai to sit on top of and then kind of overlook the rest of the tank. So how I've done that is just took some polystyrene and then carved it in the shape of the platform that I want, put some silicone on the top of the polystyrene and then just kind of stuck some dirt on there just so it's not like a pure white. Probably will be some white showing through, but that's fine because over time algae and dirt is going to stick to it and you won't see it's there anymore. And I'm going to surround it with some rocks and decor and stuff as well. But let's actually have a look at that bonsai and just neaten that up a little bit before we go any further. All right, so here's our bonsai. It's a little bit brittle now, probably because it's been underwater for so long. Now, so I've used this technique before. What I'd done was I actually bought a petrified bonsai skeleton kind of thing off eBay and took some Marimo moss balls, cut them to shape and then kind of placed them on top of the bonsai. You can kind of see how that looks. Oh God, it's fallen to bits. Kind of see how that looks under there. And it gives this awesome effect of like a canopy on a bonsai tree. It looks really effective. The only issue is, like I said before, this Marimo moss balls, they're actually an algae. So they will kind of grow these strands and they tend to get a bit out of control. Part of the problem with the tank before was that I trimmed this with scissors and then obviously some of the algae spread around the tank and then it just got out of control, so the whole floor was carpeted with the stuff. So what I tend to do now is just try and pull it off because it does tend to come off in clumps anyway. So the first thing I want to do is just remove all of this excess from the top of this canopy here. It's actually easier to do this underwater because you can kind of see where the strands are. Not sure what I'm going to do about the clumps that have kind of fallen off because it's just glued on there with acrylate glue. So I wonder if I can just reapply it and if it will stick. The problem is it's so wet, so I might have to let it dry a little first. Okay, let's see how willing this is to stick. Okay, good enough. I mean, the thing is with these, once you've got a slight bond, usually it will kind of grow and then stick to the branches anyway. Yeah, cool, that looks good. I think we're just about there. Can't really get much more algae strands off it. You just have to keep an eye on it really and make sure it doesn't get out of control. And I have neglected it a little bit, so it did get a bit wild. Right, let's get this out of the way and then we can try and arrange how we're going to position it. So I've already got an idea in mind here. This sits nicely in the corner and these rocks should kind of surround it. Do I want to put substrate in first? I think I do. So I've got a bucket full of washed substrate here. Let's get some in, because this will help the rock to sit in something. I'm no pro aquascapeist, and I know that some people do sort of different layers and what have you on the bottom substrate, but I'm not going to worry too much, because this served me fine before, just having the fluval stratum, which is this stuff. You can see that, and I'm just going to use that. It was fine before, it done what I needed it to do. The plants kind of sat in it okay and grew all right, so we'll stick with this. And what I've done as well is I did keep some of the old substrate as well, just to try and maintain some of the bacteria, the good bacteria within that, and kind of mix that in with the new stuff. All right, good stuff. So now hopefully the rocks can sit within this a bit better. Perfect. I'm going to get the filter and the heater position just so I know how that looks and what kind of space we need for the tree. Yeah, that's totally fine. And our tree can sit here. The filter and the heater are a bit annoying. I don't really like having them out like that. I did cover them up before, but it's a lot of hassle, so I think we'll just leave it. So I managed to salvage a few clumps of hair grass. This stuff was going wild before, and then it just got completely taken over, but I'm going to try and clean it up a bit and make sure there's no algae on it, and then we can plant a few areas for this to hopefully propagate. All right, slight change of plan. I started filling it up as a test, and the polystyrene was way more buoyant than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I did put some rocks underneath it. I thought that'd be enough, but it's definitely not. So I'm going to have to replace this with some actual rocks. I think that's the only way around that. Take two. All right, I've averted my tank crisis. I've got these guys in a temporary tub at the moment just while I'm doing their renovation, so I thought we'd have a look and I'll show you exactly what I've got in this tank. Now, I started off with 6 cherry shrimp, and I kind of made the error of seeing some shrimplets and then thinking, oh my god, I can't let the meat get eaten. So I took them out and rescued them, because there was other fish in there who would definitely have them for lunch, which then turned into 15-20 shrimps, and now I've probably got about 40, I think, maybe something like that, 30-40. So I'm not saving shrimplets anymore. I'm afraid they'll just have to be eaten by other inhabitants. But yeah, these cherry shrimp are great. I think primarily I probably will keep this as a shrimp tank, even when the various fish die off. So there we can see there's some neon tetras swimming around. Those little guys at the bottom with the spots, those are Rasbora. I think I have 5 of those. And just at the bottom here, you can see a little snail. That's an assassin snail, which are mean little guys. They kind of have this long rasping tongue, and how they feed is they'll attack other snails and then just kind of thrust this appendage inside their shell and rasp their skin away and eat their flesh from the inside out. They're kind of shy. They have this long trunk. I can't remember what it's called now. And they look like little aliens when they're crawling on the glass. I'll try and find some footage. I've got it somewhere. But the main guy I wanted to point out, if I can find him. Now this guy, he's still being ridden by a shrimp. It's so funny, he's like riding him around like a little horse. This big guy is a vampire shrimp, and the most impressive thing about these is, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but they have modified appendages on the front of their body which are like fans, and that's what they use for catching their food. They're filter feeders, so they have like these nets which they will fan across the water in a current and pick up any detritus in the current or in the water, that's kind of flying past, and then eat it. So we're almost ready. I'm just waiting for the tank to settle a little bit because it's very cloudy at the moment. And then we'll get these guys in and we can have a look at the finished tank. All right, so we've got everybody in and this is the finished product. The only thing I don't like is that heater and the filter in the corner because it just takes away from the natural look. But I guess I could get an external filter. I'm just not too worried about this aquarium at the moment. I'm hoping this grass will kind of spread over time and I won't have as much of an algae problem. You can see the assassin snails, one's there, one's at the back there. Tetras look pretty happy, and we've got our Rasbora who are swimming around and schooling, which looks really cool. And of course, tons of shrimp, including our vampire shrimp who's kind of hidden at the back there somewhere. You can see his reflection. The main thing though is of course the bonsai tree thing that I've got in there, which I'm really happy with how that's turned out. I'll just have to keep it trimmed, but it looks really cool, especially now it's aged a bit and got some moss on it. And I added some more decor, so it looks like there's kind of a root coming out of the bottom there. But with age, hopefully this tank will look better and better. As I said, primarily I'll probably keep it as just a shrimp tank. But yeah, that's the tank done, so I don't really have to worry about this too much now, other than keeping the algae under control and the water changes. But I'm sure I'll post a progress video on it at some point in the future. That's all I've got for you today, guys. I know it's a bit different because I don't usually do aquarium stuff, but I just thought it was a cool design that I wanted to kind of showcase there. So I hope it gave you some ideas for stuff you might want to try yourself. If you like this kind of content, I usually post videos twice a week. But until then, stay safe, take it easy, and I'll see you on the next one.